is to, okay, got it. Good. And this is to approve sidewalk restaurants dining, correct? And Leon,
Sure.
if I could ask you, to go through where we are right now.
Yeah, so we know we've talked about it in successive meetings, but the weather is starting to warm up, and I think it's time to discuss and hopefully approve more expanded outdoor dining. I know our residents love it, and every time I walk up Elm Street, I know people are very appreciative of what we can do. And given I'm starting to see a little bit more COVID positive cases in town, it's starting to surge a little bit. I think it's smart for us to move that forward and expand the outdoor dining as much as possible to support our great restaurants and merchants in town. I think it's a very appreciated endeavor, and I think it's time to move that forward again.
Great. So what is required here? Do we need a motion then to expand outdoor dining through, would it be then to comply with the state law of April 30th, 23? Is that what we're looking to do?
I think that's correct. I think you probably need to define the scope of the expansion. And I think Jen could probably comment, Tiger certainly, and other folks are glad to chime in with their particular focus areas.
Okay, then Jen, why don't you tell us what you're seeing out there right now?
Well, basically for tonight, we're just focusing on Elm,
Yeah.
not on Forestry, because Elms who has been coming to us and submitting all their plans, because the plans have to be approved by April 1st starts the permits for us locally. So hence why it's kind of today that we're going through this with you. But they were submitting 2 sets of plans to Lynn, one with the barriers and one without the barriers. So obviously without the barriers, certain restaurants wouldn't have enough area, especially down near the Rosie Adirondack store and Chef Louis and Soleil parts. So we're looking to put back in the road barriers temporarily until whatever goes forward with DPW on their permanent bump outs.
Right, got it. And is Jim McLaughlin on?
Yes.
Yes?
Yep. I just added him.
Okay, good, thanks. Hi, Jim. All right, so the idea here is to approve expanded outdoor dining through April 30th, 23. And this is regarding Elm Street only. And then the options are with barriers or without barriers, correct?
Correct.
Correct. All right, Tiger, what are your thoughts on this? You there?
Yeah, so the thought was that you had already approved the, let's call it phase 1 or what have you, for the pedestrian bump outs, the pedestrian safety zone from the east side of South Avenue. This is all on the north side of the street, nothing on the south side of the street, but on the north side of the street, from the east side of South Avenue through and including the Playhouse. Right, so that area right now, actually, because we were having this meeting, I delayed the contractor from starting. I'm meeting the contractor tomorrow morning. The materials got delivered today to my yard, granite and brick, and he's ready to start constructing a permanent bump out in those areas. Okay, so from the east side of South Avenue, the intersection with South Avenue, all the way to the Playhouse, coming out 8 feet with granite and brick. And then the thought is that in the other areas where we haven't done that, similar to what we had done last year, we would put the barricades back out, the white barricades.
Right.
From, I believe it was from Rosie's up, we had a small bump out through there, and then one at Chef Louis. And we can certainly amend that to incorporate others. We could theoretically put the barricades in from, in essence, what would be Uncorked all the way up to South Avenue, and then from the Playhouse westward past Chef Louis to the driveway. at that point in time. And then allow what we planned on in the area of where we're building permanent is to basically take and work through one store frontage at a time, meaning that we would put the granite in, put the brick in, and then basically open that area up to anyone who wanted to use it behind us, and then continue working through the street, in essence, from east to west, and get all the work done there. So we can put everything out, get it planned out similar to what we did last year, what was approved by this commission last year for the barricades themselves, and then move the barricades while we're trying to work in the area. And the restaurants in that area would be affected for a couple of days while we did that work in front of their frontage, and then they could move out into a more permanent space. And then at that time, we can come back to you with a further plan to make what is temporary, the other areas that would be temporary, permanent, and tell you what the ramifications of that would be.
Right, and that's the I sort of think of it as the P and Z approved plan that we approved already. That's gone through all the town bodies, right?
Right, yeah, right now, we had an 8-24 review of P and Z for what we'll call the pedestrian safety zone, or from South Avenue to the Playhouse. We haven't gone back to P and Z for the larger expansion, nor to the police commission for the larger expansion on a permanent basis. Temporary, the police commission can do it temporarily on their own accord.
Right. All right, well, just personally, I would encourage you to go back to P and Z with the extended plan, just to, have a real public, with a lot of public input and a real public hearing on that. It's something that I'm in favor of, but, again, it requires a lot more input than just sort of the three commissioners here, okay?
Mhm.
All right, so,
That's fine.
so you can start that pretty much tomorrow, right?
I'm meeting the contractor tomorrow morning, and, I'm gonna tell him to put a shovel in the ground and start. And then I'll talk, if you approve the temporary areas, I'll talk to Mose tomorrow, and we'll start bringing the barricades out.
Good, okay. Shakeva, your thoughts here?
It all sounds good to me. I mean, I love the outdoor dining. I was just sitting there in front of Salzburg the other day thinking we need more tables. So,
Okay, good. Is Jim, are you there as well?
yeah,
Okay.
he's here, but his mic is off.
Just unmute yourself. There. Sometimes I do and I end up hanging up on everybody, so. All right, in the meantime, hey, is Laura on? Laura Budd? Yes. And your thoughts here?
Well, I mean, whatever we decide, we're going to end up making people unhappy.
Yeah.
Anytime we lose parking, it's going to be an issue. I think we're going to get some pushback. People associate the barriers with COVID, and really it's about the ADA compliance. And that's just what we're going to have to, work really hard to explain to the stores that this is what it's about, and we have to create the right room in the right way. But we're going to have I think the residents will be happy. And I hope that this is a step toward a permanent, and that actually makes it easier to explain as well. But we will have some unhappy stores for sure.
Okay. Look, of course, we're very merchant friendly. We're also restaurant friendly. We're also citizen friendly. So we want to put it in hard to appease all three at the same time, and we recognize that. So, Jim, are you there? Okay. Tucker?
Yeah. Hey, thank you. Yeah, I agree with Laura. I mean, listen, this is something that our town has become known for. Our restaurants are what brings a lot of people to town. And we always ask the retailers to recognize that the rising tide floats all boats. A lot of good retail stores support the restaurants and vice versa. I just want to make sure that we're clear here on what that you all are clear, because I feel like I am. We had an internal meeting with a few folks this afternoon just to make sure we were clear. And so the barriers will go up, but the tables will now be in the street. the pedestrian pathway will be on the sidewalk. So it's going to be a little different than it has been in the past. And that is to make sure that we are in compliance with the ADA regulations. So I just want to make sure you all understand that. We don't really have a choice on that. Jen and her folks have been out. Okay, well, okay.
I've just read this state statute, and thanks for sending that along.
Sure.
It's a bit, to me, it's a bit confusing.
It
Because
is.
it says that you must provide a pathway, that the pathway is constructed and maintained in compliance, okay, which we would do with the barriers, right? Which is exactly what we did before. And such that the pathways extend the length of the lot, which is, in front of the restaurant, not less than 4 feet. And then it says, not including any area on a street or highway and remains unobstructed. But it also goes on and says, subject to reasonable conditions imposed by the municipal official or agency that issues right-of-way or obstruction permits, which I think is us. And so it's sort of, I read it as you can go either way on this.
Yeah, I mean, listen, my preference would certainly be to be able to have them on the sidewalk, but I was told that that's not the case. So anybody that can clear that up, I welcome that.
There's a separate state law that requires the pedestrian way to be on the sidewalk, no longer in the right of way.
I think one of the primary issues with that is that if you had someone in a wheelchair on the sidewalk with a curb there, if they had to detour around tables and chairs onto the street where you had the barricade and then try to get back up on the sidewalk again, the curb would prohibit them from doing that. And that's why we can't send them off the sidewalk onto the street, back onto the sidewalk again. Would you agree, Tiger?
Yeah, I mean, we did make accommodations for that at the time, but it's still part 3 of that says, it's at least 4 feet wide, excluding any portion that's on a street or highway. So you have to have at least 4 feet on the sidewalk. And the only place where we really can get 4 feet on the sidewalk is along the building line. The best place for us is along the building line, measuring out 4 feet from the building line, because it's unobstructed. We don't have lampposts, we don't have trees, we have nothing in that area. So we can't push it out further, still be on the sidewalk, and then be in the what would be considered the furniture zone, which is where the lampposts are and the trees are. See, because you would have to work your way through it. Jim,
Jim, we could hear you.
Can you hear me?
Now we
Yes.
can.
yes,
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I've been listening to the whole call, but it took 3 technical experts to get me dialed in here by phone for some reason. So I've heard everything, but you couldn't hear me. I apologize.
I'm glad we can hear you now. All right, so just to make it clear, the way I read when I'm seeing this thing, outdoor dining can be done on public sidewalks. And then it says, and other pedestrian pathways abutting the area permitted, et cetera. So it would allow us to have tables on the street, if you will, right? There's no language in this statute that says we can't put tables in the street, as long as there's some maintained, constructed pathway and et cetera, right?
correct.
Okay,
Right, it actually says that, and then there's a portion there that directs the Connecticut DOT to expedite any encroachment permit onto their streets as well. So
which is that's our Main Street guys.
that's correct. That's pretty good.
Yeah. All right, so let's just deal with.
By definition, it's no longer a street once you put the barricades there.
That was where I was sort of heading with this. If that's not a street and it is no longer a street, right? Then is the pathway that we'd have to, maintain for ADA purpose, then necessarily a sidewalk. I just wanted to flush that out. Because if the street is no longer a street, then I would think you could have the tables on the sidewalk and then put the pedestrians on the street or on that pathway. But it sounds
Yeah,
as
except
though-
for the fact that the nature of the complaint that we received last year specifically noted the use of the pathway on the asphalt, let's say, of the street, right past the curb line, in between the curb lines. So, and the state law says it's got to be on the pedestrian pathway, the existing pedestrian pathway.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so, hey, Jim, your thoughts here?
So, I apologize. We're now talking about putting the barriers back out on part of Elm.
Yes.
Is that right?
It's basically putting the barriers back up where they were during the COVID time.
Yeah, and that's in front of Rosie's and the Cafe Salzburg.
Right.
And then would that also include over by the Cafe Dolce or whatever that's called?
Yeah, you would need,
You could do that, but they already have a patio area that they have a right to use with approval of the property owner. So they already have an expanded area that they could utilize. So we wouldn't necessarily have to give them any room.
Okay.
So let's talk about, is that the north side of the street then?
That's the south side of the street.
No, that we don't want to talk about.
Right. Yeah. Right now we're trying to, the south side of the street seems, since they have that patio area, they seem to be well covered, but the north side of the street seems to be where it's more problematic.
And on the north side, it's just in front of Rosie's and Cafe Salzburg?
No, it'll go in front of the other restaurants where we had them before, which would be Soleil and Elm and also Chef Louis.
Right.
Okay. But
And in the middle of all
but we're
this-
starting the bump out construction.
Right.
In the middle of all this, Tiger's gonna start the bump out construction, and it'll sort of march down the street or west, I guess. On a day
Right.
by day.
Yeah, and then we would pull the barricades out and then remove them as we go, once it's
Yeah.
permanent. Once it's permanent behind us, we would be able to take them off site.
Okay. And by the way, your message, Tiger, said that the bump out goes all the way all the way to the corner. I thought it sort of starts near where Soleil is.
It starts, I was sorry, it might have been confusing. I was starting from east to west, starting at the South Avenue intersection, 25 feet east of the South Avenue intersection, and then heading westward to the Playhouse, and then 25 feet past the crosswalk at the Playhouse was the original plan that was approved.
Right.
by this body. And then the thought is that at that point in time, it was all white barricades further on going up towards Chef Louis, and then heading further towards Rosie's. We'll extend it the entire way of what we had before and then build the middle.
Okay,
If that's a better explanation.
Yeah. Okay.
okay.
I understand.
Okay.
And so Jim, are you without a motion here? Why don't we put a motion on the table that we can then debate, okay? Jim, you would word it.
Okay.
Yeah, what we want to do is approve barriers from Rosie's through Chef Louis as they were built during COVID. Is kind of the rough estimate of what we're trying to do here, right?
Yeah. So it's to reinstall the barriers that were in place during the COVID restrictions, which are barriers roughly from the Chef Louis restaurant moving east through the areas in which the bump outs will be built and extending as far east as what? Cafe Salzburg? Was that where it ended?
Yeah, which is the furthest east part? Is it Salzburg or is it Rosie's?
I would say
Salzburg.
Salzburg.
Salzburg?
Yep.
So let's do it to there. All right. All right. Okay, but what are your thoughts there?
Are we going to hear from the people at the Uncorked then? Because,
Well, I think they've got that whole alley and everything else behind them. I mean,
right. And they didn't have it before.
They did not.
No.
No, they have plenty of space behind.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, prior, we had that driveway there was a driveway opening, it was a curb cut.
Right.
Uncorked, and we actually removed that when we removed the large tree that was damaging the sidewalk. We removed that curb cut to put in a little bit more curb line.
Okay.
Right.
They didn't have it at present. They didn't have it prior.
Yeah. So this motion is to simply reinstall the barriers in the prior configuration.
Right, so that we can, encourage outdoor dining in New Canaan, right?
Right.
Is that right, though? I mean, so the placement of the tables is going to be different, so that doesn't have to be in the motion?
I don't think we're gonna put that in the motion,
Okay.
because that's,
You don't have to encourage them to put it there, but it's available to them.
right,
We just have to have a 4-foot pedestrian clear zone along the sidewalk,
it would be kind of
Right.
you know?
where you can put it, right?
Right, if they choose not to put tables in that area, and people can just walk around it, that's fine too.
Okay. I'm afraid, Shakeba, in favor of that? You like that?
Yes,
Okay. so, Chief, any other thoughts there before we make a vote?
Nope, nothing else contribute.
Okay, anybody else on the line? Okay, good. All right, so let's, motion to approve this,
So moved.
seconded.
my second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
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 All right, good. So now the restaurants have a clear marching orders of what they can do, and Tigers does as well. If there are any other thoughts, we'd like to hear them now, because
We're gonna try to keep these, sorry, Paul, the only question I had was duration, right? So the, this executive order extends to next year at this time. So we would be looking at keeping, as we move forward with the process, we would keep everything in place, and assuming, if they allow expansion of the areas, great. If they don't, then we keep the barricades up until,
Right. Till April of 23.
okay, and we'll work, we'll see what the winter holds. If nothing changes, we'll see how the winter holds.
Right, that's right. And of course, look, if we need to amend this, we're open to that too. So, and tweak it as needed, all right?
Right.
I know people didn't like the barricades, they're kind of ugly, but you got those nice white ones, they're better than the Jersey barriers, and probably safer too, and easier to move around, so.
They're easier to move, and they're better looking. We can certainly get the concrete ones, but I don't think they're definitely not better looking.
Okay, good. All right, well, good luck on your bump out project, and
Thank
I
you.
encourage you to go back to P and Z and extend it, but that's a personal view, not a police commissioner's view. All right. Okay, anything else? Call for adjournment? Shakeba? Yes. Motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn?
I motion for, me or,
Yes. Your motion. you're
yeah,
making the motion
okay,
to-
I motion for us to adjourn.
All right, Jim, you're seconding?
I second.
All right,
Thank you all.
Thank you,
bye.
Jennifer, for putting this together.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you again.
Thank you,
Bye,
Jen.
everybody.